Joe, welcome to the Hub as a
Thank
CPTM
you.
companion, and from Mauritius, and in fact you went via various parts of Europe, and you ended up here at the Hub. And welcome to Gaone again, whom we had the opportunity to speak a little bit earlier today. So today is a very important day for the Smart Partnership Hub in relation to Southern Africa, I suppose. So thank you very much to Tsang, to Oliver Aram to come in. And this is one of the advantages of you being in London, although you're always available, but being in Göteborg in Sweden probably is a bit more difficult. But
it's a bit of a walk.
And having you at the Hub is very, very valuable, as you already realized. And not only at the Hub, but available to all the Smart Partnership movement. Yeah. I think the reason why we wanted to bring up a kind of an update on the financial inclusion and digital landscape, the CPTM involvement, is because since about 7 years ago, and since Dar es Salaam, this leveraging value of technology, became probably a reality, but one is trying to keep track on which particular technology is one that is taking a lead and driving all the others, including the economic development and so on in national, and unfortunately, one would say the financial technology seemed to be ahead or attracts. I'm not very sure it's ahead from, as an engineer or computer scientist, that it is ahead of other developments in genetics or which are very, very visible in Southern Africa and in the whole Smart Partnership movement. But they seem to attract the attention, and it's not only because of the central banks and what one refers to as financial inclusion, but it's because of the cryptocurrency exchange big companies that are discovering that Africa is a fertile continent, which needs to be involved in. And the question is, what are the benefits, what are the challenges within the countries in Africa, small or large, developed, undeveloped, or whatever it is. So because of that, the financial inclusion, alongside the visions, alongside the standards inclusion and all the rest of it, they all gathered around the statistics, around the central bank governors, who are having to cope both with the technology developments in this field, with the legislation required, with regulatory technology type, or as referred to RegTech, which is one of the things we want to bring in today. And they don't quite know what is their role. Are they leading technology development now in their countries? Even the heads of government and the cabinets and the parliaments don't realize that everything is around the central banks. The central banks are stating all the time that their functions are any central bank until further notice is to regulate. They are regulators in the country. What we demonstrated, and we kept track in the CPTM and Smart Partnership context, is that actually they are only able to regulate if they understand the technology. And they understand the technology ahead of even their own staff. And that is where there are a lot of issues that are coming up. So it's happening in Mauritius, it's happening in Botswana, it's happening in Zimbabwe. We just talked this morning with the deputy governor who was here about 2 weeks ago. It's happening in Uganda, in Namibia. Yeah. So now there are technology solutions. Yeah. For regulatory frameworks to help the central banks, but they need to be aware of. They need to test. Yeah. So in addition to the kind of issues that were brought in for the first time actually in an international context 2 weeks ago here at the hub, like for instance the legislation that the Parliament of Malta just approved in relation to digital currencies and digital. In addition to that, there are technology solutions, and through digital companies like Tsang, we brought in about a week ago the possibility of engaging in what is called RegTech. So before we go into kind of the issues that I just mentioned, probably Oliver will tell us a bit about what Richard Mathen brought in. And what is RegTech? What would they add in addition to a legislation?
I think regulation technology is just a derivative of financial technology. So it's born from financial technology. What's important about regulation technology is, especially for the central banks of Africa and the wider Commonwealth, is that what costs money, what is capital intensive, is regulation. A lot of this is done physically and manually, and sometimes it's not always done at speed, or can be done at speed.
Or the same standard.
Yeah, or the same standard, or indeed
the main.
It becomes so capital intensive that some banks won't do business in certain countries. But if technology can provide that bridge to make regulation more easier and more transparent.
But to
harmonize standards as well, yeah. If you can find a right framework where you can say, actually we can work along the same framework in a technical manner, then you're actually increasing the ability to bring money into your country. Correspondent banking around that, regulation around that, standards around that can be a great help, especially in Pan-African, if you think about SWIFT and everything there, can there be a
SWIFT, yes,
African SWIFT?
Yeah, very important.
Yeah. So I think the regulation technology officers are, it's
Who is developing this regulatory technology? Who are the developers?
Well, I mean,
Like
companies, technology companies are doing it. Some of the bigger companies are introducing it. Even the central banks themselves are experimenting. So Bank of England has its own experimental unit into technology and what it can do.
Okay.
They're testing it just to see if the technology works. And some of the larger commercial banks. I mean, it makes sense for them. They have
so
to.
Richard, I understood Richard Mathen. Who is he?
Richard's background is in financial regulation and technology there, and he works with companies around this, especially in the RegTech and artificial intelligence, or I think more specifically actually machine learning.
Machine learning.
Yeah. But the important thing is that the Financial Conduct Authority liaises with these technology companies. Everyone's interested in seeing the technology adapted and standardized, because of this it generally pushes the money where it should be. So regulation can either help money flow or it can stop money flow.
So this RegTech, RegTech is a bit of a kind of like fintech.
Yeah, well,
but
it is financial technology. It's just a part of financial technology. So I mean,
but
financial technology covers so much.
For know your client.
Yeah, EKYC providers, they've been around for a long time. So when I say EKYC, I mean electronic know your customer systems, platforms, where they will pull certain APIs of information on a certain individual and just automate the process, make it quicker.
Okay. So what was the idea? The idea was that if more countries or institutions in countries,
if they understand the benefits,
they understand the benefit of some of this regulatory technology, and they adopt it, then they are part of, they develop a kind of good practice.
Yes.
So there is a kind of grouping that is evolving, which imposes a best practice, a good practice, if you are using that particular. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, if the central bank exposes themselves to more technology, especially regulation technology, they can give guidance, which is what most companies need, or banks, commercial banks as well. So I mean, it's up to the central banks and in many ways who gets a banking license. These types of things. These what is your customer policy? If it's standardized internationally, then you can do business easier internationally.
Okay. So how do we connect that idea with where we left 2 weeks ago with the central banks, in addition to legislations which are a separate issue? I mean, the legislation is a...
We show the central banks the benefits, and you say by adopting standardized good regulation technology, financial technology, these are the benefits. This is what will benefit your individual countries. This will benefit you as a group. Savings.
How large is a group currently?
A group can be...
Africans don't exist.
Well, a group could be 3 people or 3 countries on a tourism type system where they share, they pass people on, but they do it through trusted connections. Yeah.
Okay. So, what is the idea? What do you think one could do about RegTech adoption?
Maybe, I don't know whether they are going to, since within the economic regions, they are trying to harmonize policies and issues which are related to them. Maybe with this regulatory technology, they could have maybe a regional type of a technology which could be utilized by the different countries. Like that.
I will tell you why I'm asking this, is because I'm not very sure why that has not been mentioned in the last 7 years among the central bank governors. That wasn't brought up. And the Southern African central banks are meeting quite often. And I'm wondering if they are not already involved, because I was speaking to Zimbabwe and they said I need to know more. So does it mean
maybe it's new,
they don't know?
New.
I'm not very sure if it's new.
Is it
But
new?
anyway,
Maybe it's new to them within their field.
it could be.
It could have been there for other issues. But when you look at it, banking is really centralized because of the intertrade between the countries. And it is important.
Could be that emphasis has not been put on technology solutions vis-a-vis
the manual processes.
money laundering, financial crime.
I think when you look at it, it seems like the emphasis has really been a lot on money laundering, because I know that even when you are working outside the country, you always have to have proof to say, where is your money coming from, whether is it from a regular type of a job or whatever. So I think based on that money laundering and the survey which was done by Thabo Mbeki on the how Africa is losing a lot of money through illicit business trade, they have more or less focused more on that, trying to curb it, rather than see what could be developed to better all the region.
It's also the technology is moving fast, so I mean some of this wasn't as accessible as it is now. And when I say accessible, I mean in a practical manner and also in a financial manner. So some of this was just too expensive to adopt or have access to. Now the barriers of access to this technology have come right down. So the internet's all out there. These things are very accessible to any central bank at the moment, and it's not just the rich central banks who actually can participate and learn. It's accessible to all at the moment. So that's one of the levels. I mean, if you think about phones 7 years ago, we didn't have one of these. I mean, they've advanced. So that's the technology.
But what do you think that the Bank of International Settlement of the IMF or the World Bank might have kind of enhanced the adoption of RegTech as it evolves? That's what.
Yeah, I mean they have their own problems with technology. I mean, they're institutions as well. I mean,
there are also institutions. Now you're quite right about that. So I mean, even adopted already RegTech.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at anything with cryptocurrency, blockchain, even the European Central Bank didn't really have any plan 2 years ago. That now they say they have some sort of plan now. But I mean, this is an extremely large organisation, but it's taken them time. So, I mean, the adoption that's happening now, even that people are considering standardise, to cooperate together to come out with standards is very important.
No, we were discussing with you and Richard about the standards.
Yeah.
Kind of, there is a blockchain technology standard. There is the ISO standard for fintech.
Yeah.
Actually, there are all sorts of ISO standards already developed, and simply as definitions, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a fintech definition, is an ISO standard for what is fintech, what is not fintech. But actually, what the RegTech, what I understood was that there is a standard of a good practice that is being adopted if these technology solutions are brought in. And then without realizing, you are shaping up a group which imposes on anybody else. This is a kind of consensus that this is the way to do it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm not very sure how much is known that, and why didn't we bring it up? Do you probably didn't have time?
There's so much other things, but I think moving
should bring it up.
the focus should be more on the solutions now, not so much technology. The technology is a by-side of good solutions.
Okay. So So what do you think, in addition to the legislations that are going to be developed in various countries, how do you think a digital company, like were you to go to Botswana, as we talked to Gaone before, not necessarily going to the central bank like we went to Tanzania, but go to kind of application of financial inclusion and so on to the carpets in Botswana, in the Muchudi, or anything else, to the cattle. Yeah. So what would you like them to know or to be prepared? What kind of environment do they need to have for you to be tempted to go there? I mean, one is talking about cattle, and one is talking about the
carpets.
The carpets and the diamonds and.
You want to meet the local entrepreneurs. You want to meet the SMEs, don't you? You want to meet the people that are going to benefit.
They know nothing about blockchains.
Well, they don't need to know, but you don't need to. When you buy Gmail, you don't need to know about the internet.
Okay.
You just use email.
That's a good one.
Okay,
Yeah.
what else do you need? Would one need? If you go to Botswana, and how would they benefit the Muchudi carpets by you?
Well, I need to ask the question, don't I?
Okay.
How much? What can I benefit? I make carpets. How can I benefit from your technology?
When you are talking about that, they are putting the tracker, this traceability, which is required by EU in the animal, and they can even know where the origin the animals are coming from.
That's what.
And you can't sell to the EU unless your meat has that tracker and they track the device.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, now she got it.
Yeah.
Is that a blockchain?
It could be. It could be if you want it. So, I mean, what we've got to.
So
Well,
it's
not the
traceability
Well,
of origin.
it's a digital certificate or a hardware certificate, but all of these things. Sometimes, if you make things more complicated, it's easier to cheat the people. So, I think keep it. Why do you want to know the person who's buying your carpets?
Correct.
Because if I know the person who's buying the carpets, I know what type of person I need to market my carpets to.
And the question is, when you say
Yes.
there is data. This blockchain, can you just, because we're talking here not to the governors, we're talking here to actually, the governors are dependent on Gaone and Joe and myself, right?
Yes.
And you are going to be honest with us.
Yes.
And then the governor will listen to you and to us, right? So, what is this blockchain? The blockchain, just tell her, is a way of accumulating data about that person who does.
It's sharing a value in a peer-to-peer manner without having to trust someone in between us. Essentially, it's taking out middlemen.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Direct
peer-to-peer.
dealing.
Peer-to-peer. So if you think about the old days of a barter system, why do we need to go to a bank or anything? We can trade between one another. But the blockchain is being used to describe a lot of different technologies at the moment, Mahela. So, but what does it solve? I mean, what does it say if I sell you this phone and then you sell to Joe?
Data.
Yeah. That all of if this phone is sold to you, then to Joe, to Mihaela, we have all of that data. We use blockchain. So what we want to know is the history of this phone. Where did it come from? Whose hands has it been in? Is it really the phone I say, or is it just an imitation?
So basically, what you are trying to tell me, is like, for example, we have been using this blockchain in the kettle, but we never knew it was blockchain. We just know that is a EU requirement.
Yeah.
So for us, it's a EU requirement. But when you explain, and then they will sell to the people.
Not quite. Hold on. Just keep it there. Don't lose it.
Okay.
Because the EU requirement, the tracking, the blockchain technology application wasn't yet there. So they came up with regulation and papers. So it wasn't there. And if you are quick enough, you'll be ahead of EU if you apply the blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, the EU aren't. It's not. They don't say you have to use. They are telling you that they want a full history. How you go about doing that is your decision in many ways. But if you don't have the standards or the documents they want, then they come and fine you probably, or do something bad.
But
so this makes it.
You could sell more Muchudi carpets than Windhoek, because you have everything in a blockchain, and if they find that, they will buy your carpets
because of
traceability and
traceability.
quicker. Yes.
Traceability,
yeah. Like the coffee. I mean, if you Muchudi carpet, is because we are all in love with Muchudi carpets. But otherwise, coffee, tea, diamonds, we're all in love with it, but we can't afford it.
Different,
Joe.
Yes.
I mean, Mauritius is very special.
All
What
this
is
talk
special
of
about
development, all this, I should say, even not only the concepts, but even the vocabulary that we are using right now here.
Yeah, no, don't worry.
It seems so alien in the Mauritian context. We don't know about all this. Like you said, all these regulatory technologies, bitcoins and all that. All these subjects seem to be dealt with in a very sort of secretive way. We don't know what's going on. And I have been discussing with some of my friends, former ministers of finance and all. But some of them are fully aware of what's going on outside Mauritius.
Yeah.
But we come to Mauritius itself, I haven't seen yet any paper from university, anybody coming forward in an article in the press.
There are no debates, there are no...
Nobody mentioned it, we don't know what's going on.
I'll tell you what's the problem, you don't have pubs. If you were to have pubs,
Pubs,
like
would drink
Where
there,
people
drink our...
No, you'll meet there and talk about what is
okay,
crypto.
you can talk about it in a different, from a different angle, like the traceability and all this. No, but what I mean, for example, what's going on? We hear of some people being sent by EU or Economic Commission or whatever, and then when I try to find out from offshore sources, nobody knows. They say no, we never heard about it. But when I go to my friend in business or dealing in Bitcoin, some of them are in offshore business. So all of them, their reaction is, well, we need regulatory technology. We need all this to be clear to us, and we are looking forward to we ask government to do something, to come forward and tell us that they're doing something, but there's nothing being done. But now, we are in sort of a situation where there's more politicking than anything else now, because...
but is the central bank and is the Ministry of Finance...
I answer your question in a very direct way. No. You remember quite well, so many times we've been trying to get the governors of the Bank of Mauritius to come here and meet the other governors of the bank. Have you had any response now?
No.
You see, so none of the governors of the bank that have been appointed since departure of Manu, none of them seem interested in knowing what's going on in the outside world. They seem to think that Mauritius is the center of the world. They do their business among themselves. And you invite them, and you are kind enough to convey the information to the minister. No, the minister himself. You remember the former Minister of Finance. He told me, I invited him. I said, you come because there's something going on. which is of great interest for us all, and you
Yeah,
should know.
correct.
And if you meet on the other governors of the
yeah.
bank, and amongst them, there were also former ministers, then it will be good for Mauritius. But I listening to you, Tori, and then reading all the papers that you publish. I'm just wondering whether there's something has to be done. Perhaps
Yes.
get a paper, not a very long one, because I don't think these people have much time to read or
I
concentrate
don't
on
think
anything.
they read.
So you say 10 papers and 10 pages, you tell them this is the problem, this is what's going on in the outside world, and this is how it is going to affect you. What do you do about it? Something you have to tell them. Because they seem to be living in a sort of a limbo, in the time shuttle.
They are taken actually by surprise now.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, how they're going to cope with Binance type or anybody else. It's not that the market is free, but that's why there is business. But
No, we are in a serious problem, because I have a feeling that our people not only are not interested, are not educated about all this, but they're not interested, which is worse. So this is where I think we have to do something. I don't know. I'm very sorry to.
It reminds me a bit, Joe, about so many years ago when the Mauritius 2020 was being
Manu again was
launched,
behind it.
And there was the idea how to avoid to put kind of Mauritius for sale or is African for sale. How can we avoid that scenario? Yeah, because more or less it's a similar situation now, but coming from a different angle.
When you are saying
cryptocurrency
when you say Mauritius for sale, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
In the last budget speech, the Minister of Finance he just said we are going to sell Mauritian passports. Yes, it's also sale now. They're going to sell it.
Well, I suppose one can do that until.
No, I have in writing against
until object tech with identity will come in. Before
that. I have taken position publicly on this. I say this passport doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the people. You have to be consulted. But now none of the parliamentarians, none of them say anything. I don't know. I'm very unhappy here.
Okay, you see, I mean,
it's a very interesting topic. It's a very interesting topic.
Sure, it is interesting.
The issue of the parliament and the visions of these countries have to be
public
reviewed.
education.
You have this question of education. You have
It's
to educate our
public
people.
education.
While the central banks have to get probably more into RegTech and all sorts of other things if they are not already in. But they haven't talked about it.
No, yes,
and thank you very much, Oliver.
You're welcome.
And I think a lot of people.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you very much, Oliver.